Hello? 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 Let's see. Bartholomew, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, we're going to get started because it's 4 o'clock and I would like to be cognizant of your time so that we can finish this orientation. My name is Ruby Bell. I am the Director for Teacher Education and Licensure here at the University of Mount Olive, and I just want to welcome each of you. I see a few of our supervising professors who have joined us this afternoon as well, so thank you too. I know that you're also in the process of finishing up your grades, so thank you for taking the time to be with us. Let's see, wanted to make sure that I covered everything before we got started. Let's see, and I will be admitting people as we go. Someone is on an iPhone, and I don't have a name or a number, so I need that. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let's get started. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Hello? Is anybody there? Can y'all talk?
We can see your screen.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Hart. I appreciate it.
I can see your screen as well, Dr. Bell.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started.
Hi, Dr. Bell. This is Joanne. I can see you.
Thank you. Okay, so, all right. The first thing that we have on the agenda is, of course, the North Carolina Code of Ethics. All of our students have been apprised of the Code of Ethics and should be aware of the importance of abiding by the code. So all I would do would be to ask you to make sure that you kind of review that with them once they get started. Another item on the agenda, and we'll just go down the agenda as it is printed here, is that if you have any questions, please make sure that you see Ms. Lynn Sutton. All of this information should have been sent to you today and yesterday. So everybody should have everything. And I just want to go over and maybe clarify anything if you have questions regarding such. This video will be posted. We will send out that information if you need to look at it again. We also have some other training videos located at www.umoedu.com/training video handbook HTML. So you may utilize that link, and the password for that link is UMOEDU105. We have a student teaching internship capacity schedule, which is a guideline for the internship. And I just want to let you know that students are supposed to be in place when you go back to work. I have instructed all of our student teaching interns to make contact with the principal of the school in which they plan to do their student teaching internship, as well as with you, so that they will be able to visit your school if they have not already done observations or practicums in your school. They need to visit you before school, before Christmas. And I'm still admitting people, so please bear with me. I'm sorry. If you're on an iPhone, I don't have your name, so would you please send me that information? Let's see. Okay. All right. Student teaching capacity schedule. Let me see if I can share that with you. It's just a basic guideline as to what we do here. Okay. Trying to make it move, but that's not, okay, there we go. Okay, it's the student teaching capacity schedule. It's just a guideline for what's to happen, especially for the students more than the teachers. So it tells you on a week-by-week basis on what the students should be doing, as well as some items which have been included for you. So just make sure that once you touch bases with your student teaching intern, make sure that they have this student teaching internship capacity schedule so that they can kind of refer to it on a weekly basis. It also shares with you when they are to begin taking on the assignments or taking on the classes or the courses. So by week 4, the student teaching intern should be ready or prepared to take the first class or content area or the first subject area. So, and that's throughout the schedule. So that's just a brief look at what that looks like. And here you have the guideline or the schedule for your observations. So I won't go over that because that's in the presentation that I have for you. I just wanted to share with you what the schedule looks like, and that there are some things embedded within the schedule that the students can use to help them to navigate the student teaching internship. And of course, at the end, and we'll talk about that too, there's a PPAT schedule that the students will have access to, and the deadlines and those kinds of things. But we'll talk about all that a little bit later. So let me see if I can reshare. Okay, are you back on the agenda? Are you on the agenda? Joanne?
Yeah, hi. I
Hi.
see the agenda.
Okay, y'all have to answer me because I want to make sure you're keeping up with me now. Okay?
I'm keeping up. I just didn't know you needed me to talk. Sorry.
I know I don't, but if I ask the question, do you see my screen? Would you be that person for me?
I will, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I have to leave this meeting at 4:25.
Okay.
I have another
I will-
appointment. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll pull someone else in at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. No, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the first week observation reflection. Lynn sent that to you as well. Students are to complete that during the first week in the classroom. They're very simple questions because they're only there to observe and kind of get acclimated to the class, get acclimated to the school. We also realize that high school students, the high school is a little bit different in that you're preparing for exams and then the students may change. So, but it's okay for the students to be there. It's good for them to be able to see what's happening in the transition from one class to another. And they're very simple questions. For example, what activities or meetings are required for teachers? Discuss the purpose of the meetings. What are the classrooms? What are the classroom management procedures? How does the teacher get to know the students, and how does the teacher learn about students and their concern? So anyway, teachers learn about the students and their concern. So you can read those for yourselves, and the students should have those as well. The next item on the agenda is the responsibilities of each of the people who are participating in the student teaching internship. We have, of course, the student teaching interns, we have our clinical teachers, and we have the supervising professors. Each of our students have been assigned a professor from the University of Mount Olive who will also evaluate the performance of that student teacher. And if you look at what the responsibilities are, of course, we know that our student teachers are responsible for developing lesson plans, helping to manage the classroom, of course, use the standard course of study or whatever standards that you're using at your particular site. It says develop a learning plan for the portfolio, which we don't have anymore, but they still have to keep learning plans or lesson plans and assessment plans, okay? And these all must be uploaded, but the supervising professor would pretty much be in charge of all of those items that have to come back to the University of Mount Olive. Now, as for your responsibility as a clinical teacher, and they're very similar to the supervising professor, except for the professor has a responsibility of making sure that the items that are to be submitted back to the university are taken care of. So let's just focus on the clinical teacher, and then you can kind of read what the supervising professor has to do. All clinical teachers must register their personal information at the website that is listed. We need to have your name, your phone number, your email address, and so that at the very end of the student teaching internship, we can provide for you the necessary information that we have for you, which would include a certificate with certification hours, CEUs, that you may be able to submit to your school system, and they can utilize those, or you can utilize those for credit hours. Let's see. Also, with student teaching interns, there is a $200 stipend that is mailed to you, so we want to make sure that we have your address so that we can send that out at the end of the student teaching internship. Also, there are 2 internship agreements. One is for the clinical teacher, and one, of course, is which relates to the school district. But you can go over both of those and read those and sign those, and you can pass those on to the supervising professor. The training video that we talked about in the beginning of the agenda, which is hot linked, and you can click on that to move to that in order to view if you find it necessary. You are required to complete the 3 observations. We'll go over that, complete the student teaching internship summary rating forms monthly. Since you are in the spring, it will be February, March, and April. There's a midterm and there's a final, the LEA IHE certification of capacity form. So your midterm should be completed by the student teacher, the clinical teacher, and the supervising professor. Your midterm is the evaluation that determines if there are some areas that the student needs to work on, and if so, then some type of plan needs to be developed. That's why we ask that the 3 of you work, because we know that the supervising professor is not always there, so he or she doesn't always see what's going on in the classroom. And sometimes the student should be involved, because sometimes they may have thought that they were doing something or fulfilling an objective or meeting a standard, and maybe you didn't see it that way. So there needs to be a conversation centered around that evaluation, and we'll just look at that so you see what it's like. So I think the 3 people should be together in preparing that midterm, and as well as the final. And I will say this about the LEA IHE certification of capacity. All of the standards for that form must be met. There's a met and a not met. If there are any not mets, then we need to talk. And the purpose of the midterm is to make sure that we don't have any not mets. But sometimes we do have them at the end. So if we have them at the end, a lot of times we continue to work with the student, the supervising professor, and the clinical teacher will continue to work past the internship time in order to eliminate that issue if it is at all possible. Now sometimes that amount of time may not work, then we have to do something else here at the university. So, but anyway, of course you are to monitor your students while they're teaching, assist them in the development of their lesson plans, and make sure that they are assessing the students appropriately, provide them feedback, make sure, as I said, sign the agreement forms. And of course, at the end of the internship, there is a survey along with your other items, the credit hours, the certificate for credit, and of course the stipend. And of course, as you can see, the supervising professor's responsibilities are very similar to the clinical teacher, except that the supervising professor is responsible for making sure that all documents are returned or uploaded to the UMO website. And we have here the monthly evaluation schedule. We just always use it for the fall and the spring. And as I said before, February, you should have your first observation. March should be, of course, for your second observation and your midterm. And April will be the third observation. And of course, there's a final evaluation. I do ask that the supervising professors visit you to maybe go over some of this in person prior to the students preparing to teach. So they should see you, they know, and they'll schedule some time. Please note that the University of Mount Olive does not come back until around the 14th or the 15th. So it may be that late before you get to see a supervising professor. It just depends on what that professor wants to do, but you may or may not. That's the purpose of this this training. And of course, you have my email address, which you can send me if you have questions, emails if you have questions. All right, let's look down at student teaching internship documents. Professors have there's a dated checklist that should be utilized in order to help the students to know what it is that comes to us at the very end of the internship. And those professors have that. And I think Lynn sent that to you as well, so you can look at that. Also, the agreement forms that we talked about, evaluations by the clinical teachers. Now, I will try to see if this will open up. I don't know if it will or not. Let's see. I don't think it's going to open up. Let me see. I knew that would happen. Okay. I'm trying to find it for you. There's so much stuff. Let me see if I open it up. I thought I had it. Okay, I'll look for that and see if I can come back to that one. Let me see, I think I have the midterm. Let's look at the midterm.
Are these documents, have they already been emailed to us, or we're about to get
Yeah,
these?
you should have already had those. Lynn should have already sent those to you. Have you checked your email from her, from Lynn Sutton? Who am I speaking with? Mr.
Sign. It's signs, like road signs.
Signs, yes. She should have already sent those.
Okay.
So let me see. This is not what I wanted to share with you. I was hoping that would open up, but it did not. So, okay. Joanne, can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Teacher summary rating form.
No, that is not showing.
Okay. You see now?
It shows that yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay, so this is a teacher summary rating form. Let's see what it will look like. And you're familiar with this because, of course, this is the same form that is used by the school systems to evaluate the teachers. And the only difference with this one and yours is at the top, it will have UMO and it'll have the number 1, 2, and 3 so you can circle. So that's what that looks like. This is a form that you will use every time you evaluate your student for the month of February, for the month of March, and the month of April. Then you have, this is the midterm form, and it's called the North Carolina Educator Evaluator System. I know she sent that to you as well, so you should have that one. This is what it looks like. This is the midterm. And this is small, but there are several areas, and all of the standards, the teaching standards are here. And of course, it is, the candidate is emerging, developing, proficient, and accomplished. Of course, it's not determined or recognized. So those are those areas, and it is a long document, but it does cover all of the teaching standards. So this is the midterm. And of course, your regular observations for your formal observations will be this form. And of course, this is the LEA IHE Certification of Capacity form. It's just a screenshot of that. And it says at the top, LEA IHE Certification of Capacity form. And all of the standards that the students have, I think it's about a page, 2 pages, I think. And at the bottom, there's a place for signatures and initials. So make sure that you do that. Make sure you initial and sign it. And it should be signed by the student, the clinical, and the supervising professor. I think there's the principal's signature on here as well. So we see that the rating is either met or not met for all of the standards that are there. Okay? Okay. Okay, so we're back to our agenda. I've gone over the evaluations for you. Our students are required by the state per our submission and recommendation to complete a research paper, which should be done. So unless you have a student who has not done the research paper, you will not have to deal with that. That is a supervisor professor piece. There's an innovation plan. Hopefully most of the students have completed the innovation plan. The innovation plan is very simply a project that the students have to complete, and most of them have already done so, that shows leadership and collaboration. So unless your student hasn't completed that, you probably won't have to be responsible for that. But you are responsible for helping to make sure the student has 4 lesson plans, and those lesson plans have assessment plans to go along with them. Now, the testing documents is not really necessary, but all of our students have certain number of tests and requirements, testing requirements that they have to meet prior to student teaching. So those are what they are. If you have questions about any of those, we can entertain those. And of course, all our students are required to test. We ask that they take their state test prior to graduating. And so these are the tests that they have to take. And one other thing that they have now, as a student teaching intern, the state requires that our students take a professional skills test that shows the ability to teach effectively, and that is called the PPAT. It's the Praxis Performance Assessment for Teachers. It is administered by ETS. There are 4 tasks. I've been told that it's very similar to national boards. But anyway, there are 4 tasks. Task 1 is knowledge of students and the learning environment. Task 1 is not scored by ETS. It is scored by the supervising professor. Task 2 is assessment and data collection to measure and inform student learning, which is scored by ETS. Task 3 is a design and instruction for student learning, scored by ETS. And task 4 is implementing and analyzing instruction to promote student learning. And of course, it is scored by ETS, and that task comes with a 15-minute video. That video could be a 15-minute consecutive video, or it could be 3 5-minute videos, segments, and none of those segments can be audited or adjusted or you can't cut it, can't be cut. It has to be full as it has happened. So we hope that you would kind of help our students to make sure that they address those guiding prompts. Now, what I'll do, because we will meet regularly too as a group of clinical teachers, and I will go over those tasks with you so that you will have an understanding or an idea as to what each one of those are. You are also free to visit www.ets.org in order to study or look over the PPAT. We try to encourage our students to make sure that they read over PPAT and look at the guiding prompts, which are the questions or the standards that they are governed by, and to answer those. And if they can do that, 9 times out of 10, they will do a pretty decent job with the assessment. We just received our scores back, and I thought our students did pretty good. The passing score is 40, and a highly qualified passing score, of course, which would earn the candidate more money, is a 44. And we had some students to earn highly qualified scores, and we had a good number to make the passing score. Now, I hope that won't cause the state to raise the scores for us, but we thought they did a pretty good job. So in other words, if you're interested, and I hope you will, maybe after Christmas when things kind of slow down and you're not quite ready to come back to school, take a look at the ETS website and kind of look over PPAT. And I think that will help to clarify some issues as it relates to PPAT. Now, the NCDPI online licensure process is for our students once they have completed the internship, and we have transcripts, and we will get in touch with them and give them the information that they need in order to apply for licensure. And of course, they know that if they're planning to graduate, there's a March 1 deadline to apply for that. Of course, again, our education website is listed here. The dates for our students for Zooming will be January 16, 28, 25, February 25th, March the 24th, and April will be announced. Excuse me. We will meet at 5 for student teachers, and I will probably schedule a clinical teacher webinar at 6. And it may not be every time we do a student teaching seminar, but we will have a Zoom session after their session on some of those dates. And I will send those out to you because I will have to send you the information that you need in order to log on to Zoom. All our students are required to attend a career fair. It is March the 26th, not the 23rd. So they will be excused. They will be on campus all day that day. We will have the career fair and then a seminar following the career fair, and all our students are required to attend. And as a final note, our students have to register for internships, and since I had student teaching orientation earlier, I think they have all registered for that. There's one other document that I want to show you. If I can find it. I think Lynn sent it to you. It's the lesson plan that should be used for student teaching. Okay. Do you see the University of Mount Olive lesson plan format? If you do,
Yes.
Okay. This is the format that they have been assigned to use. It is the PPAT with some added information. It's the PPAT lesson plan format with some added information on it. So this is what everybody should use as their student teaching. And you should have that. If you don't have it, send us an email and we will send it to you. Jessica, I keep having to admit you. What's going on? Are you leaving us or breaking up, or we're losing you? Okay. All right, let's see. Any questions about the lesson plan format?
I didn't know how to hear me.
I'm
Dr.
okay.
Bell,
Yes. Yes.
If the student does not reside in that area, are they mandated, is it mandatory for them to be there for that career fair?
Yeah, let me talk. We'll have to talk. We take them on a individual basis. You know, when we're trying to you know, if you don't live, you have to still abide by. If you have a class and you have an assignment, because you don't live in the area, it doesn't mean you don't have to do the assignment. So what we have to do, we need to discuss and we need to talk about the issues. We're flexible, so that's something we have to talk about. Okay. So we need to cover that when it's time. Mr. Sines, did you have a question?
Oh, no, nothing.
Okay, cool. Thank you, because this is the second time you've joined us. If I've said something that you, that if I missed something from the first one and you didn't quite get it or think something I need to share with the others, I don't mind you telling me that. Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Neal,
Dr. Bell, I do have one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do have one question about the lesson plan. In preschool, our lesson plan looks very different from the one that you just showed.
Yes, ma'am.
Will it be required for my intern to do the one that you have, or can we accommodate to the lesson plan that goes along with our preschool?
We prefer that the student utilize the one that we have and maybe accommodate, use yours to supplement or develop the one that we have, simply because of the fact they have to take that PPAT, and that one is designed to help to keep them focused on the areas required for PPAT. When you look at ours and compare yours, it's a little bit different, but I think the student will get more out of utilizing the PPAT one for that. Now, and what we've decided here at the university is that everybody will use the same lesson plan format, so that all of our students will be utilizing or kind of be on the same page with what they are having to submit. And once they're out and on their own, it's a different story. But yes, ma'am, she should use the one that we have provided. Now, you are a former UMO student, are you not?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you for taking us on. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, I'm going to look forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you for answering that.
You're quite welcome. Anybody else?
I've got a question here. So at the beginning of this meeting, we've talked about that fourth week of the interning student to get ready to start teaching his lesson or unit or class. I'm at the high school level, so for us, we're at that fourth week. We are in like day 2 of our new semester.
Okay, that's fine.
So
you what you will do is your music, your touch bases with your supervising professor. It has to be different. What's important, most important here, is that your student teacher has 4 full weeks of full loads. For example, you have 3 classes that you teach, I'm sure. Well, he has to teach 3 full classes for 4 full weeks. So if it starts after that, and we understand with the high school, it has worked out. It normally works out.
Yeah.
Just work with your supervising professor to make sure that that student teacher has 4 full weeks of full load, because the state requires that. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, okay, correct.
Okay, so I appreciate that. That's a good question.
Yeah, it kind of works because I teach guitar and 2 courses of band.
Okay.
The guitar thing is actually be more content knowledge specific, so that'll probably be the one he'll be more, I guess, more actively involved with, as well as my other 2 classes. So
if you teach guitar, do you think, and I'm just talking because it's not, we can do this. If you teach guitar, if you think the student needs, I'm just saying, something else, and if you're at a high school, do you think maybe he might need to go to the middle school and teach a class, or you think the guitar will be fine?
Oh, the guitar will be fine. I've spoken to him prior, and I know he's had some experience with guitar. It's just it's a good get your feet wet type of situation.
Okay. Well, he's a good student. I think you'll enjoy him. I know you've already, so he's a good student. He's really good. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Neal.
Oh, yes. I was wanting to find out, when will we find out about our supervisor professor?
Everybody else already knows you are in Greensboro, and I had to find somebody to supervise you. I just submitted a name today for credentialing. I think that person will be credentialed, but we have to wait. I have to wait, and I can maybe send you an email as to who that person will be. But I think she's going to be approved, and she lives in that area.
Okay.
I said I thought about taking it, but I've got enough to do here, so I won't be able to take it. But your professor will be a person who will be based in Greensboro.
Okay. All right. That sounds
And
good.
I'll send you an email after this with that information in it.
All right. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Ms. Hill. And I think you were a little bit late coming on, so we may need to have a conversation about the innovation plan. But I think we can do that if you want, or we can just wait until we get started.
I've been on. I've been here.
Okay.
From the very beginning.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Anybody else have any questions?
No, ma'am.
I want to make sure I've covered everything. So just do what you need to do. You have me, Miss Lynn Sutton, and you have your supervising professor. And if anytime you have any questions, please let me know. I will also try to send just an email update to kind of keep you posted with what's going on. And I hope things work out for you. Please note that if you have a student who is not working out, let your supervising professor know. If we need to call them in, we can do that because we want to be supportive. We want to give you the very best that we can, and we want our students to function in the same capacity. So, if you need us, let us know, and I'll say don't take any junk because they know they should be ready. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, but know you have my email, rbell@umo.edu. My office number is 919-299-4813. And of course, you'll get that when I send the first communication to you, maybe just an update. It'll all be in that. And if not, you can touch bases with your student teacher. All of them have my information. Okay. All hearts and minds clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll
Yes,
say
ma'am.
good night.
Thank you.
I'll say you're welcome. I'll say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to those of you who need that. And take care of yourself. And I look forward to speaking with you second semester.
Thank you.
All right.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Okay.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.